Nand Bhardwaj ji, faculty members of this university, students. It is a privilege to be speaking to you, although the audience has thinned a little, but that is one risk that you have when you speak in the last session 1 and post lunch. I want to start speaking with a question. Can anybody define what ethics is? This question goes out to the students. Can any one of you define what ethics is? Customs. Okay. We've been discussing media ethics, so we need to know what ethics are. Yes?
So, ethics are the norms which define what is right and what is wrong.
Okay, great. So, the topic is what media should do rightfully and what media should not do. We've been discussing media primarily with a focus on TV and newspapers. But nobody has discussed media as cinema, films, advertisement. There was one speaker talking about advertisements. Social media, we had a session before, prior to this one. Ethics is how one should behave and how media should behave. There are issues like when you see on television channel a woman is burning, somebody has set fire to her, and there are 10 reporters with their camera persons filming her. Now the biggest ethical question there is whether the camera person and the reporter should put down their cameras and notebooks and prevent that burning, or they should perform their professional duty first and then take on the mantle of humanity. Similarly, I don't know how many of you remember the iconic photograph which won the photographer a Pulitzer Prize, where an eagle was shown taking a little baby away. And there was this photographer who was clicking pictures. He won the Pulitzer Prize, but he was put to so much of ethical questions afterwards that he committed suicide after that. So the biggest question before media is, should you follow ethics as a human being, or should you follow ethics as a working professional? Should you perform your duty as somebody who is using media for propagation of information, knowledge, or should you be a mere human being and perform what is expected of you ethically to do as a human being? Now we've had speakers who've talked about who've said that media standards have gone down, ownership issues have come up, there have been issues with advertisements, there have been issues with media becoming an industry. Media was a mission. Why I say was? Because media is no longer a mission. Media is now an industry. To give you an example, the biggest newspaper of the world, do you know which one is that? In terms of circulation, biggest newspaper of the world?
Times of India?
Times of India. The owner of Times of India in an interview has said that we are in the business of advertisement. So the biggest newspaper of the world says that we are not in the business of news, but we are in the business of advertisement and money. If you have noticed, I don't know how many of you read newspapers, because I guess most of you are under 30 and you would be lucky to see newspapers die. Newspapers will die very soon. Why? Because the revenues are shrinking. The advertisements are shifting from TV and newspapers to the online platforms. In 2005, the ad spend on TV was about 42-43%. Newspaper got about 39-38%, and spending on digital platform was just 1%. Can you imagine what is the data now in 2015? TV and newspapers have gone down significantly, whereas digital from 1% in 2005 is now 14%, and it's only growing. So you know where your advertisers are going, and the owners know where they have to focus more. The readers matter nowhere, because there are no readers. Everybody is a consumer. You are a consumer of a news channel, you are a consumer of a newspaper, you are a consumer of a news website, you are a consumer of a film, consumer of a TV serial. Everybody is a consumer, so there are no social concerns. Let's get this out of our minds. When we present papers, we say that media has a role to play in social transformation. There is no social issue involved now. Media is a market. That's one negative thing that globalization has brought to us. You know what did globalization do? Do we say world is now a global city? Or do we say world is a global village? Why don't we say world is a global city? Cities can also be small and interconnected. Why village?
People are more connected in village.
Okay. Most of you are young people, and I doubt if you've had any interaction with, you've spent any time in villages. But in villages, there is no anonymity. In cities, there is anonymity. You don't know who your neighbor is. You may know his name or her name, but you don't know him. In villages, this doesn't happen. At least didn't used to happen. Now the villages are also getting urbanized, so those problems are also creeping in there. So therefore, when the institutions called the Bretton Woods institutions like International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, all these institutions, when they thought of world as a global village, the point was that you should have an entity. Globe is something that can be controlled. Word is not something that can be controlled. So that is how the word globalization came into being. Nobody said that word it's universalization of the word or something. There was this concept of globalization did not exist before globalization, because globe as an entity is something that can be controlled, and that has interdependence. I have money, I want to buy something. You are a market, you have consumers. So the concept of manufacturing came into existence. The difference between production and manufacturing, what is it? When I ask these questions, these are only for these students. So can you differentiate production and manufacturing? Anyone? Did we need a mobile phone 10 years back? Did we need it? Do we need it now? We do? Why? What has changed in 10 years or 15 years? Nothing has changed. The manufacturers of mobile phones have created a need for it. I will make this bottle and then go around telling that the water that you drink is not good, this is good. And in 5 years you'll start saying that, that water should not be drunk. This is a good water. So that's the basic difference between production and manufacturing. I will produce something which is required. A farmer produces cereals. He does not manufacture it. Whereas a car company will manufacture cars. We will manufacture mobile phones. First we will give you a device which can be used for sending SMSs and receiving calls and making calls. Then we will add some new feature into it and create the need for it. Then we will introduce something called a smartphone and make people believe that if I don't have a smartphone, I don't have a right to exist. How can you not have a smartphone? It's the most basic need, because that's how the manufacturers of smartphones have made us believe. So similarly, when we talk of media ethics, I think we should talk more of ethics of social media. Because as I said, newspapers will die very soon. Television will take a couple of more years to die. But social media is the new media. How many of you read newspapers? Very few. Read or watch or see. There's a difference between reading a newspaper and seeing a newspaper, flipping through pages. Very few. Whereas the latest data across the world is that 34% people are reading newspapers more. So where are they reading it from? If the newspapers are dying, the newspapers are closing down, the editions are shrinking. Hindustan Times launched in Rajasthan in 2000 with a flourishing edition. Now we have shrunk to a bureau. Why? Because the revenues are not coming. And as I said, media is a market. The owners of media will look at profits and losses. Ministry of HRD, did we have? Nanji will bear me out that there was no Ministry of HRD 30 years back. Where did this HRD come into picture? Why do we talk of human capital? Somebody said human capital and knowledge capital and personal capital. Why did everything get attached to a capital? What does capital signify? Capital signifies profit and loss. So your knowledge is for profit and loss. Knowledge capital is, I am knowledgeable, I will write a book, earn money out of it. We used to have a department called Education and Culture. Now that has become Ministry of HRD. Because the education has become human resource. Education is now linked to employability. Can I get a job after doing this course? Will I make money after doing this particular course that I am doing? If not, I am not interested. Because the concept of education has now become the concept of human resources. So similarly, the markets have spread their wings into knowledge, personal. If I have land, that is my personal capital. Farmers say that my personal capital is my land. I can sell it and make money out of it. No farmer wants to grow the traditional crops now, because we have told him that what you're doing is not good, that doesn't make money. Why don't you shift to cash crops? And gradually we took our farmers from 60% of our population is farmers. And you know how much they contribute to the GDP? Now everything post globalization, everything refers to how much you contribute to GDP, how much money you make, what is the market size, what is your capital size. I own a newspaper. I don't say I have 17 editions. I say my market size is n billion, any amount. So the owners will talk about the profits. That is one negative aspect of globalization. There are many goods that globalization has done. we've virtually known the world. We know everything at almost at the same time. What is happening in Syria, what is happening in US, at the same time that everybody else knows. But these are the ill effects that we have to talk. And why we need to talk about it is because everybody talks about low standards of media ethics. Media does paid journalism. You give money to a reporter, they will publish whatever you want. When the elections are around the corner, this debate gains more momentum about paid journalism. Now, when you do a business, the only law of the market is that there is no law. Everything is fair. As long as you can make money, everything is fair. Media is a market, media is a business, so there are no laws. And why do you talk about ethics then, when there are no laws? If I have more ad, I will give less space to editorial space. Why talk about farmers? Somebody said that, the issues of farmers and the marginalized sections don't come into media now as they used to be there earlier. They used to be there earlier when, media wasn't a market. People who've studied sociology will know that there's something called stability of the upper class. The upper class will always try to stabilize itself. And how does that do that? It will own a media house. Who owns the media houses? Does a farmer own a media house? Does a poor man own a media house? No. Who owns media houses? The upper class. The people, the capitalists, the so-called rich people. And then there's something called stability of the middle class. What is that? That is that the upper class will employ the best minds from the middle classes, give them money, make them their employees, and want them to work as they want. And stability of the lower class? Well, there is no lower class. The lower class in the country doesn't read my newspaper. The lower class of the country doesn't pay for the advertisements that I run. Will Lakme want to allow people from Basti in Delhi into their fashion show? Will they? Why? Because they are not my consumers. I want to concentrate on my consumers. And how am I reaching them? Through newspapers, through television channels. So the lower class, the marginalized class does not matter at all. Because they don't consume newspapers, they don't have the ability to buy them, they don't consume the news channels. Because if I make a program on the crisis of Vidarbha, the farmer suicides, I will find that I get no ads for that slot of 1 hour. Whereas if I make a program on a fashion event or a beauty contest or any fluffy stuff about cinema, I'll have, really have to struggle with the advertisers. No, I have to give at least 20 minutes to a program. I can only give you 40 minutes. There will be advertisers who will say that you give only 5 minutes to the program and give the remaining 55 minutes to us. Whereas if you make a program on why the pulses are becoming so expensive, you go to advertisers, there are no advertisements. So what will the owner do? He will say that let's not have a program that doesn't have ads. Let's have a program which gives you more money. So I am very candid in saying that all this talk about ethics is, pardon my language, bullshit. There are no rules in the market. And when there are no rules, there are no ethics. And when there are no ethics, there is nothing called social transformation. The media will not transform you socially. How much time are we giving on the media? We are giving more time on social media. And social media has no gatekeepers. In TV and newspapers, people like him, me, we sit over the reports that come to us and we see that whether this is fit to be published or not. But that does not happen in social media. everybody is a consumer, everybody is a user, everybody is a journalist. Everybody with a smartphone is a journalist now. You can put on Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, whatever you want, and there are no gatekeepers. It goes out to millions of people without any gatekeeping. So why do we talk about ethics then? What is increasing? The newspapers are dying. They will die in next 10 years. And by 2017, India will be the biggest user of Facebook. There's a method in the madness that Mark Zuckerberg indulges by our Prime Minister. Did you see that picture of Mr. Narendra Modi pulling Mark Zuckerberg out of the frame of the camera side? Would anybody have tolerated that if he didn't have a market back home? Mark Zuckerberg can tolerate anything by an Indian because his biggest market is India. Today we are number 2. In next 2 years, Facebook will have the biggest consumer user base in India. WhatsApp, despite our low penetration of internet, we only have about 19.5% of internet penetration. But we are already number 2 in terms of Facebook use. We are number 2 in terms of WhatsApp use. We have the biggest WhatsApp users in the world, the second biggest WhatsApp users. So now I think we should, as teachers of media, we should start talking about ethics of the social media. But unfortunately, there won't be any ethics because there is no gatekeeping in markets. There are no rules, and I may sound very pessimistic, very gloomy, but that is how the media landscape is now. Coming to some of the previous speakers who've spoken about advertisements, cinema, social transformation, etc. I've told you that media no longer plays any role in social transformation. It only plays a role in deconstructing realities. The major change that happened after TV came to India was that before TV came to India, or let's say before private television came to India, we saw reality from our naked eyes. When TV came to India, the private TV, then reality started traveling to our drawing rooms. And the major difference was that what was coming was distorted. There's something called spin doctoring. Now every politician has image makers. Mr. President, when you get down from the plane, there's this lady standing there, her name is Linda. Just wave to her, say, "Hi Linda, how are you?" And the people who are watching that live telecast will think that, our president is a nice soul. There's a video circulating on Facebook which shows the President of America getting down from Air Force One, and there's just one umbrella available. So he opens that umbrella and he sees that there are a couple of ladies who have to come out from the other exit. So he opens the umbrella, goes out to them and extends his umbrella, and there are 4 or 5 people along with the President of America under one umbrella, and they're walking down. And everybody says, "Oh my God, look at him. The President is such a nice bloke. So humane." Who has done that? The President didn't get that idea. The spin doctors, the image makers. Mr. Prime Minister, when you go to the UN, you should not wear the same kurta that you wore in the Bay Area. Change that. So in the era of spin doctoring and image making, let's open our eyes and ears and accept the reality that media ethics don't exist. They don't exist at all. Thank you. have time for questions. Would you ask questions? Are there any questions?
Rakesh has invited some questions. If somebody has any question, please do come up. Your speech is so clear. Professor, faculty members of the IAS University, dear students, ICG में आकर के बोलना अपने घर में बोलना है, इसलिए बहुत ज़्यादा औपचारिकता की ज़रूरत नहीं है, बहुत ज़्यादा सब्जेक्ट के बड़े दायरे में जाने की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि बहुत सारे स्पीकर्स ने अलग अलग एस्पेक्ट पर बहुत अच्छे ढंग से संक्षेप में अपनी बात कह दी है। और सबसे अच्छी बात ये होती है कि जो सुनने वाले होते हैं उनसे ज़्यादा समझदार होते हैं, कम बोले हुए को ज़्यादा व्याख्या करके और समझ लेते हैं। यही वजह है कि जो ऑडियंस होती है वो हमेशा एक बेनिफिशियल ग्राउंड में रहती है, लाभदायक स्थिति में रहती है। जैसा राकेश ने कहा, कोई सवाल है तो नहीं आया कोई सवाल, क्योंकि राकेश का स्पीच अपने आप में इतना क्लियर था, उन्होंने मीडिया के पूरे परिदृश्य को इतना खोल कर समझा दिया और कोई ज़्यादा उम्मीदें भी नहीं बांधने दी कि आप मीडिया से कुछ ज़्यादा एक्सपेक्ट करें। एथिक्स वेथिक्स सब फालतू की बातें हैं, सोशल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन भी कोई ज़्यादा महत्व नहीं रखता। लगभग ये कंक्लूड किया, मैं चिंता में पड़ गया, मैं क्या बोलूँगा, लेकिन स्टिल मैं एक लेखक हूँ और मैं उम्मीद नहीं छोड़ता। आखिरी आदमी से भी अपेक्षा रखता हूँ कि ये तो खड़ा होगा मेरे पक्ष में, और मान के चलिए कि ये आखिरी आदमी बहुत बड़ी तादाद में जो रिमोट एरिया में रहता है, जो किसी मीडिया की पकड़ में नहीं है। बहुत सारे सर्वेज आए, सर्वेक्षण आए, उन्होंने बताया है कि 40% के करीब तो लोग बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन से नीचे रहते हैं, गरीबी रेखा से भी नीचे रहते हैं, उनकी बेसिक ज़रूरतें भी पूरी नहीं होती। और सताई कितनी है एक आदमी की, वो भी आप बहुत से लोग जानते हैं। इसलिए सारे लोग मीडिया की पकड़ में हैं, ये मैं मानने को तैयार नहीं। मीडिया को या जितनी भी तरह के संचार माध्यम हैं, उनको सारे विज्ञापन सपोर्ट और सारे पॉलिटिकल सपोर्ट के बावजूद अब भी जिंदा रहने के लिए पाठक ही चाहिए, ऑडियंस ही चाहिए। ऑडियंस खत्म हो जाती है तो विज्ञापन देने वाले भी भाग जाते हैं और पॉलिटिकल लोग भी भाग जाते हैं, कोई सपोर्ट में नहीं रहता। जैसा राकेश ने अभी बताया कि विज्ञापन वाले भी भाग गए, वो कहते हैं अब लोक मीडिया की, जिसको आप सोशल मीडिया कहते हैं, उसे लोक मीडिया कहता हूँ, लोक माध्यम कहता हूँ। ये लोक माध्यम विकसित क्यों हुआ? इसलिए हुआ कि जो पारंपरिक मीडिया हमारे पास था, अखबार थे, सिनेमा था या ऑडियो विजुअल मीडियम थे, ये धीरे धीरे अपनी विश्वसनीयता, अपनी क्रेडिबिलिटी खोने लगे। ये इतने जनता के हितैषी नहीं माने जा रहे हैं। जो मीडिया कभी आज़ादी के स्ट्रगल में, आज़ादी की लड़ाई में उनके साथ बराबरी का हिस्सेदार था, उस आज़ादी को लाने में उसकी महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका रही है, लोगों को जगाने में बहुत बड़ी भूमिका रही है। उसकी जिम्मेदारी तो ये थी कि आज़ादी के बाद लोकतंत्र को मजबूत करे, लोगों को लोकतंत्रीकरण की प्रक्रिया में ढाले, उनके जो अधिकार हैं उनके बारे में उनको बताए, उनकी जो ड्यूटीज़ हैं, कर्तव्य हैं, उनके बारे में बताए, देश के सामने कठिनाइयाँ क्या हैं या उसकी पोटेंशियलिटी क्या है, कितनी संपदा है हमारे पास, क्या कुछ हम कर सकते हैं, इस शक्ति का हमको, इस ताकत का एहसास कराए, और एक बीच की मजबूत कड़ी के रूप में, यानी जनता और शासन या प्रशासन या जो संवैधानिक शक्तियां हैं उनके बीच में एक मजबूत आधार स्तंभ के रूप में बना रहे। इसी के रूप में मीडिया की भूमिका थी, यही उसका काम था। और इस काम को उसे बहुत ऑब्जेक्टिवली और इंडिपेंडेंटली, बल्कि कहना चाहिए तटस्थ होकर, किसी का पक्ष नहीं लेगा। पक्ष वो लेगा किसका? सच्चाई का पक्ष लेगा, लोक हित का पक्ष लेगा। भले ही उसका सपोर्ट करने वाले पॉलिटिकल लोग हों या विज्ञापन देने वाले लोग हों, वो उनको स्पेस दे रहा है और उस स्पेस का पैसा ले रहा है, ये उसका हक है। लेकिन उनकी नीति या उनकी जो इच्छाएं हैं उनका शिकार नहीं होगा। अभी पिछले सेशन में के शर्मा साहब वगैरह बता रहे थे कि किस तरह से मीडिया के जो बहुत प्रमुख लोग थे, चाहे अरुण शौरी जी थे, दिलीप बड़गामकर थे, या तमाम तरह के जो मीडिया पर्सन के रूप में अपनी हैसियत बना चुके थे, उन सबको पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम ने ग्रैब कर लिया, उसे अपना हिस्सा बना लिया। ऐसे तमाम लोग जो मीडिया में अपनी आइडेंटिटी बनाते हैं, अपनी पहचान बनाते हैं, वो बहुत जल्दी बिकते हैं, वो बहुत जल्दी खरीद लिए जाते हैं। जिसकी तरफ आपने इशारा किया था कि मीडिया पूरे को ही खरीद लिया गया है। ये जितने चैनल्स हैं, जितने अखबार हैं, शुरू तो बेशक गणेश चंद्र विद्यार्थी जैसे लोगों ने या बहुत उस तरह के लोगों ने किए थे, लेकिन बाद में वो उनके हाथ में नहीं रहे। जो टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया है, मैं आपको रोचक अनुभव अपना बताऊं। जब मैं दिल्ली में था, मीडिया में था, तो मैंने एक दिन एक्सपेरिमेंट किया कि ये जो इतना बड़ा अखबार, 42 पेज का अखबार आता था उन दिनों में, ये 2003 के आसपास की बात है, तो मैंने कहा इसकी संख्या गिनता हूँ, इसमें टेक्स्ट में कितना है। 42 पेजेस में सिर्फ 7 पेज का मटेरियल था और उसमें भी बहुत सारे फोटोग्राफ्स था शामिल थे, जो फिल्मी वगैरह इस तरह के फोटोग्राफ को मैं छोड़ देता हूँ। यानी देयर वाज नथिंग एज अ रीडिंग मटेरियल। बाकी सारा विज्ञापन था और कीमत क्या थी? 2 रुपये। तो 2 रुपये तो उसकी कॉस्ट प्राइस भी नहीं, कॉस्ट भी उससे ज़्यादा, कि पेपर इटसेल्फ ही बहुत ज़्यादा कॉस्ट का था। तब मैंने जानकार लोगों से पूछा तो उन्होंने कहा ये 2 रुपये भी इसलिए है कि वो हॉकर फ्री में नहीं उठाता, हॉकर को देने के लिए 2 रुपये चाहिए, मतलब वो भी नहीं चाहिए। उन्हें जो मिल रहा है रेवेन्यू वो तो ऑलरेडी एक तीसरे उससे आ रहा है। लेकिन अगर यही खरीदने वाला, यही सब्सक्रिप्शन उसका कमज़ोर हो जाए, तो टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया जो उसकी दावा कर रहे हैं वो सबसे बड़ा है, वो सबसे घट के सबसे छोटा अखबार हो जाए। हम अपने जयपुर से जानते हैं, टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया यहाँ शुरू हुआ था और बहुत जल्दी यहाँ से बंद होते चला। आपने हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स का भी बताया, वो भी जैसे श्रिंक हो रहा है। अंग्रेजी की ऑडियंस नहीं है, जो है वो बहुत छोटा सा एक ग्रुप है जो उसको देता है। बहुत बड़ा जो ऑडियंस है या बहुत बड़ा जो पाठक वर्ग है, ऐसा नहीं है कि ये सारे माध्यम खत्म हो जाएंगे, कोई माध्यम खत्म नहीं होगा। हम पिछले 40 साल के अनुभव से जानते हैं। जब टीवी आया था तो कहते थे रेडियो खत्म हो जाएगा, रेडियो खत्म नहीं होगा भी नहीं, क्योंकि रिमोट एरिया तक यही एक माध्यम है जो वहाँ तक जा सकता है, जहाँ और कोई माध्यम, जहाँ संचार के और कोई साधन जा नहीं सकते, वही माध्यम वहाँ इफेक्टिव हो सकता है। काम करते हुए उसके काम को डिस्टर्ब न करे ऐसा कोई दूसरा मीडियम नहीं। अखबार की या लिखे हुए शब्द की अपनी एक वैल्यू होती है। कहते हैं किताबें बहुत ज़्यादा महत्वपूर्ण नहीं रहती, किताब का महत्व कभी खत्म हो नहीं सकता, क्योंकि नॉलेज जो एक दस्तावेज के रूप में और किसी माध्यम में सुरक्षित रह नहीं सकता और इजीली एक्सेसिबल नहीं। उसे हैंडल करना आसान है, उसे रखना एक प्राइड की चीज़ मानी जाती है। वो चीज़ें खत्म हो जाएंगी जो सुबह पैदा हुई शाम तक मशरूम की तरह खत्म होगी, ऐसी चीज़ें नहीं बचेंगी। जिसको पॉपुलर कहनी चाहिए, लोकप्रिय कहना चाहिए, वो लोकप्रिय सुबह पैदा होता है, शाम को सांस तोड़ देता है। अखबार सुबह पैदा होता है, शाम को खत्म हो जाता है। लेकिन उसके बीच में जो टेक्स्ट क्रिएट होता है, उसके बीच में जो पाठ बनता है, जो ओपिनियन बनती है, वो लंबे समय तक जाती है। ओपिनियन बनाने में इन सारे माध्यमों का रोल है। ये सुधरेंगे भी जब जो ही अपना अस्तित्व खतरे में नजर आएगा, तब थोड़ा सा अपने को ठीक करेंगे, किया भी है। लेकिन ये जो सामाजिक रूपांतरण की प्रक्रिया है, ये बहुत निर्मम प्रक्रिया है। ये किसी के प्रति बहुत दया नहीं दिखाती, ये किसी से बहुत ज़्यादा प्रभावित नहीं होती। हमारा जो रीडर है, हमारा जो नागरिक है, वो आज कॉन्शियस हो गया है अपने अधिकारों के प्रति। भले ही कोई कितने भी ऊंचे ऊंचे दावे करे और बहुमत के दावे करे, 5 साल बाद यही जनता उसको उसका स्थान दिखाने की हैसियत रखती है। कोई कितना ही ऊंचा बोल ले, अगर ज़्यादा ऊंचा बोलेगा तो वो कितना नीचे जाएगा उसकी उसने अभी कल्पना नहीं की। इसलिए लोकतंत्र की शक्ति को पहचानना चाहिए। मीडिया का कमिटमेंट अगर है तो लोकतंत्र के साथ है, उसे मजबूत बनाने के साथ है। जो इसमें पार्टिसिपेट नहीं करेगा वो नहीं बचेगा। इस बात को बेसिक सिद्धांत के रूप में जानिए और आशावादी बने रहिए। निराशा नहीं आनी चाहिए, क्योंकि हमें वी आर कमिटेड टू आवर कंट्री, आवर नेशन, आवर पीपल। हम अपने लोगों के प्रति जवाबदेह हैं। हम उनके भले के बियॉन्ड नहीं जाएंगे। इसी के लिए ये सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, ये सारी बहस है, और इस बहस को जीवंत बनाए रखना है, इस बहस को मीनिंगफुल बनाए रखना है। कुछ भी मीनिंगलेस नहीं होना चाहिए। इस संकल्प, इस इरादे के साथ हमें अपनी बात ये समाप्त करनी चाहिए। आपने गहरे से सुना, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir. I request Dr. Garima.
Honorable Chairperson and dignitaries of the days, it is my privilege to present report on the deliberations of this conference. A 2-day national conference on social transformation and media, realities and challenges was organized on 2nd and 3rd October 2015 by the Departments of Sociology and Journalism and Mass Communication, the IIS University, Jaipur. Delegates from Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Delhi and Rajasthan participated in the conference. The resource persons were from renowned institutes like Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, SNDT Women's University, Mumbai, APJ Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi, Dayalbagh Deemed University, Agra, Institute of Development Studies, Jaipur, Haridev Joshi University of Journalism, Jaipur, University of Rajasthan, Jaipur, and media persons from Hindustan Times, Jansatta and CNAB News Channel. A brief report of the conference is as follows. The inaugural session of the conference began with the lamp lighting and Saraswati Vandana, followed by the welcome note of Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University, Dr. Ashok Gupta. He was confident that the deliberations at the conference will help us to examine issues related to social transformation and media interrelationship in a critical manner and lay out strategies for designing the content of media in the direction of making society a better place to live. Professor N.K. Jain, Dean, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, the IIS University, Jaipur, gave introductory remarks of the conference. He highlighted the daily experiences of common men in media and consequences of excessive use of media. Mr. Rahul Dev, senior journalist, delivered the keynote address. He said that social transformation is an ambitious concept rarely thought of. Even though even 8% of people watch television news, journalists are held at a stake to justify, which they happily do. There were 5 technical sessions in the conference. Technical session 1, the sub-theme of the session was constructing role of social media in everyday life. This session was chaired by Professor Ashok Ogra, Director, APJ Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. The resource persons were Professor Sanjeev Bhanawat, Head Center for Mass Communication, University of Rajasthan, Jaipur, and Professor Shivbal Singh, University of Gorakhpur. Professor Shivbal Singh argued that communication is backbone of the society. He discussed about change in medium of communication in society with changes in various stages of society. Professor Bhanavat discussed about the changes being faced by the society with the emergence of new media. He threw light on the positive aspects and contribution of new media in bringing people together. Paper presentations were made on topics ranging from media and crime to effect of social media on daily life. Technical session 2 was on social, economic and environmental issues and media. The chairperson of the conference was Professor Sanjeev Bhanavat and resource persons were Professor Ashok Ogra and Professor Purnima Jain. Professor Purnima Jain talked about the issues and problems of transgenders and the way they are taken up by media in our society. Professor Ogra spoke about environmental coverage of poor regions like Kalahandi in our country. 17 oral presentations were made in the technical session. In technical session 2, subjects of the papers varied from changing public opinion on tobacco addiction to environmental concerns through the lens of media. The third technical session was chaired by Professor Shamim Modi from the Tata Institute of Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and resource persons were Dr. Meera K. Desai and Dr. Rashmi Jain. Dr. Meera K. Desai threw light on the advertisement which reinforced gender stereotypes. She concluded by saying that there is a need to change the mindset of the people. Dr. Rashmi Jain delivered a talk on some reflections on portrayal of women in media. She argued that media is communicating images that are unrealistic, stereotyped, and limit perceptions. A vast range of topics were covered in the oral presentations. The speaker discussed about the concept of strong men and emotional women and talked about portrayal of women in television and films and its role in shaping public opinion. Technical session 4 was on role of media in shaping public opinion. The chairperson of the session was Professor K.L. Sharma from Institute of Development Studies, Jaipur, and the resource persons were Professor Shamim Modi and Professor Narayan Baret. Professor Modi drew attention to the fact that in the presentation of news, more importance has been given to celebrities. The downtrodden section of the society are not given adequate coverage. She stressed that we need to cover all sections of the society if social transformation is to take place. Professor Narayan Baret talked about growing consumerism in society due to advertisements. He gave examples of advertisement on cosmetics which have changed the idea of being human. The paper presenters gave presentations on varied topics like influence of print media and electronic media in shaping the public opinion. Fifth and the last session of the conference was chaired by Shri Nanda Bharadwaj and the resource person was Shri Rakesh Goswami from Hindustan Times. Shri Goswami expressed his concern that news business is converting into advertising business. He concluded saying that media ethics are getting deteriorated. Shri Bharadwaj gave concluding remarks and said that there is a ray of hope in the darkness and the last man of the society is the source of hope. Paper presenters discussed issues like social media and morality and media ethics and economic development. We hope that the deliberations at the conference have added to our knowledge and has contributed in the field of research related to media and society. Thank you.
I now request Dr. R.T. Sharma to deliver a vote.
I am grateful to Shri Rakesh Goswami for sharing his knowledge and experience. I am thankful to all the invited speakers and participants for their contribution. It has been a great pleasure to interact with them. I would like to thank the management of our university for their valuable guidance and support. My sincere thanks are due to the organizing team members, the volunteers and the support staff for their active role and support. This conference is an outcome of their hard work and persistent efforts. I hope this conference has been intellectually stimulating and memorable for all of us. Thank you once again.